All right, welcome to part 3 of the flask-by-example diversion from the Python for DevOps book. That book went through this tutorial and kind of loosely followed it and kind of went off into kind of their own way. And I found that just didn't work for me. I didn't have some of the same access to things that the book had. So I decided to just forget the book for a bit and just go through this as it is on real Python. And for the most part, it's been great. But the last two videos, that I did run into some pretty severe problems. Uh, but fortunately, I was able to resolve those issues. So now it's time to move on to part 3. All right, so part 3 is text processing with requests, beautiful soup, and Nltk. Okay, and then okay, so in this part of the series, we're going to scrape the contents of a web page and then update the text to display word counts. So it looks like they updated this last year. So it hasn't been updated in more than a year. So maybe that's why another reason. Well, I did list 6 reasons why things went wrong, but hopefully I won't have to do a lot of troubleshooting here. So add in the last one we set up a PostgreSQL database, which was difficult, along with SQL Alchemy and SQL Limbic to handle migrations, which was difficult as well. But we got it to work. So part 3 is going to be to add in the backend logic to scrape and then process the word counts from a web page using the request, beautiful soup, and natural language toolkit and Nltk libraries. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is navigate into the project directory to activate the virtual environment via auto env and then install the requirements. So I'm not sure what they mean by auto env. Looks like I don't have auto env. So I'm just going to activate it without auto env. So switch here, and now I've got the venv, so I'll go source venv bin activate. Yeah, I'm not sure what this auto env is. Let's take a look at the project description. So it's an unknown project description. So this is a big name in the Python world. Anything coming from him is usually pretty good. Oh, okay. So this is the env file. I was wondering why it just seemed like a dead file and it wasn't really doing anything. That's because I didn't have auto env set up. So if I install, I'm gonna do this actually. I'm gonna do a now. I think I've got to install this in my global space. So let's do that. We're gonna do deactivate, and then we're gonna do um, python-python3-m pip install upgrade pip. All right, well, maybe it's just python-m. Huh. No module named pip. Nothing. All right, well, that's weird. Oh, maybe I've got to do a sudo for the Python 3 pip command. Well, it said it just couldn't find the module, so I think I need to install pip in my global space. I'm surprised it's not installed. Uh, okay, so here's how we're gonna install it. So um, we're gonna do cd like this, and then we're just gonna enter in these commands. I'm gonna pull this up in here so I can copy paste. Okay, first step, we're making a new folder. It's going to be in our current present working directory, which is the home present working directory, and then it's going to be um, a hidden folder. So if I do an ls, we won't be able to see it until I do a ls-a. Then we can see the folder was created there. Okay, so now let's try this next command. Hopefully it just pastes in nice and clean. Oh, yep, perfect. Okay, so now all we did is we did a git clone here. I'm not sure what this part is, but let's just ignore that for now. Okay, and then it looks like we've got two more commands here. Okay, so now all we need to do is add a .env file to my project, as we'll see in this example. So here's a .env file that he has. Yeah, so now we did have some instructions for creating an env file in some of the earlier tutorials. So I think I'm going to go back and follow those instructions. So first I'll create well, let's see if I have a env file first. I don't have one, so I'll create one. All right. Oh shoot, they want me to sign in. Or I can just hit close. Oh, okay, I can sign in. My credentials are saved. Okay, so let's see if we've got a .env file. Okay, so we don't have any env files in part one, so I think they were all introduced in part two. Yeah. All right. Yeah, part two was pretty long. I think most of the stuff I've done so far was in part two. Okay, I don't think we set up auto env in part one. I think that was missing. Yeah, we never set up auto env in part one. So part two and part one are kind of disconnected from one another. Um, part two assumes that you do something in part one that is just missing from part one. But that's okay. I'm in part three now, so I can go back and I know what they want me to do, so let's do that. Um, so we've gotta have it activate the virtual environment and set the environment variables. So let's do a source VNV bin activate. Okay, and now we'll do a CD there, and then we'll do a CD into flask-by-example. There we go. And now this is the first time you're about to source that env. Begin to understand. Do you want to allow this? Yes. And there we go. We can see just by seeding in, now I have a VNV. Oh, and it remains if I CD out. So that's convenient. I don't have to remember to do that. So if you forget to do that, really inconvenient because you don't have any of your modules installed. So having that just happen automatically is really nice. The other thing we can do automatically is the set up the export statements, the environment variables. So we've got one here that we're going to need. All right, and then we'll have plenty of other variables from part one. Huh, I'm confused. I don't know. Maybe I thought there were more than just one that I had to set up. I guess there's only one. I mean, okay. Let's see if there's any more mention of a .env file. Yeah, I mean, we should have these. We should have more environment variables for like the. Yeah, so like this app settings variable needs to be included in the environment. And then the database URL, we already set that one. So I think this os.environ will tell us all of the variables it's looking for. It's looking for database URL, it's looking for app settings, and those are the only two. So let's give it app settings in the um, .env file. Okay, and then we'll take a look at part 1 again. Oh, we've got another. So let's set up this one as well. I think that's probably it. Okay, so we've got a few more here. Now, it looks like we've got multiple settings for. Oh, we've also got this secret key. Um, well, we've got multiple values for the app settings. We've also got the config.development config. So, yeah, I guess I'm not sure which. I'm going to pause the video, be back. I heard a noise. I'm going to go investigate. All right, I think it was just something with the furnace turning on or something. All right, so I am going to define one more variable, and it's going to be this secret key, and we'll just call it, this is the default key. Okay, so now if I do a deactivate and do a cd back and then cd, now, oops, cd to my flask-by-example. So yeah, the first time it happens, it asks you, it makes sure that you really did approve it, and so nobody can sneak in stuff there that you weren't expecting. But now if I do a env pipe grep flask, we've got our special um, oh, I guess I don't have. I guess I don't have this installed, so I'm going to install that quick, just because it's so painless. Okay, so I've got my development environment working now, which is good. I've also got my staging in my production environment, so we're all set to begin part 3. Before we begin that, though, let's take a look at the staging in the development environment. So here's the staging environment. And then here's the, yep, so we can see the staging environment is good to go. And the production environment, the more important one. This is the one that customers are using. So anything that goes wrong there goes wrong everywhere. All right, so yeah, things look good. Gonna move on to the next section of part 3. So yeah, so okay, so now, oh boy. Before I move on, I'm gonna stop this and then do a git add git commit dash setting up .env the push origin master. Okay, and then I'm going to follow these instructions here. Make sure that there's two. Yep, so there's only two equal signs. And I'll do just for good measure, I'll do a pip install upgrade pip. Really important to do that. That's one of my 6 troubleshooting things I had to do to resolve an issue from before. Okay, so now I'm going to put this in. I gotta take a quick break. I'll be back soon. All right, I'm back and all of the stuff is installed successfully. So next, we're going to update our requirements.txt, which I'm a little bit hesitant to do because it's been such a nightmare, that file before. But let's do it anyway. I have I have everything up on GitHub, so that's kind of the beauty of GitHub. You can go back and you can see what your code was before. So I can look at how my requirements.txt file changed over time and revert to a previous edition of it if I want. All right, next step will be to refactor the index route. To get started, let's get rid of the hello world part of the index route in our app.py file and set up the route to render a form to accept URLs. First, add a templates folder to hold our templates and add an index.html file to it. All right, so, okay, this looks like a lot of typing here, so yeah, I'm just gonna copy this. Usually I like to get it under my fingers and type it out, but part 2 was such a nightmare. I just don't want anything to go wrong. If it goes wrong, I want it to go wrong because I did exactly what was in the tutorial and it still went wrong. Okay, so set up a very basic HTML page. We're going to do that in our index.html file. Oh man, that's annoying. It does that every time you change directories within this directory. All right, looks good to me. We used Bootstrap to add a bit of style so our page isn't completely hideous. Then we added a form with a text input box for users to enter a URL into. Additionally, we use Jinja for loop to iterate through a list of errors, displaying each one. Update app.py to serve the template. So our update here, render template. And I'll just overwrite the whole file. I think I'll take a look at it first. Yeah, it's pretty skimpy. So I'm gonna, yep, so we're gonna change this hello to render template. and then display a website, and our staging area will look a lot nicer once that is complete. All right, so next part is why both HTTP methods, get and post. Well, we will eventually use the same route for both get and post requests to serve the index.html page and handle form submissions respectively. Fire up the app to test it out. Okay, so this is going to be our development environment. That's where you want all of your changes to happen and everything you're working with to happen first. Then if things are looking good, you put it to staging, gets looked over, everything gets reviewed, and then only after everything's been absolutely vetted and verified and reviewed, then you put it to production. But the first step is your development on your local machine here. So yeah, everything looks good. We've got word count 300. We can click the submit button and it says please fill out this field. So let's fill it out. Okay, and we can see it processes something, but we don't have any code, further code that'll come next to actually have it process our input there. Requests. Now let's use the request library to grab the HTML page from the submitted URL. Change your index route like so. So before we had, yeah, so we're going to add this. So we're going to change our index route. Make sure to update the imports as well. So they're not giving a full snapshot of all the files that need to be changed. But I'm pretty sure we're changing, and I can leave this running. Yeah, and then I can open another terminal. I think that'll be better. Okay, and then you can see how nice that was since I have that auto env set up. So we're going to do cat app.py. Okay, yeah, so this is what we're going to change. Before we just had render template. We can see here we're still going to have render template, but we're going to add some extra things that actually allows that URL that's entered into that field, which we can see here, to do some processing. And the processing it's going to do is it's going to grab all of the text that it finds on the URL. So if we give it this real Python tutorial, we should see once we're finished with this, the text from this tutorial print out. So we should find the same text we're looking at here. But in order for it to do that, we've got to add in the actual code processing so that it does that. So that's going to be in the app.py file. And we're going to replace these lines. And these 3 lines are going to be, for the most part, unmodified. The last line, we are going to add a few extra things so we can get like more debugging outputs, and we can get, yeah, we can get the results. So we can get some output. Oops. All right, looks good to me. Okay, so make sure to update the imports as well. So we got to update the imports in the app.py file so that we have the requests module added. Yeah, we can see right now we've only got models import results. Or actually, yeah, these are the imports that we're going to update. There we go. Here we imported the request library as well as the request object from Flask. The former is used to send external HTTP GET requests to grab the specific user-provided URL, while the latter is used to handle GET and POST requests within the Flask app. Next, we added variables to capture both errors and results, which are passed into the template. Within the view itself, we checked if the request is a GET or POST. If POST, we grabbed the value URL from the form and assigned it to the URL variable. Then we added an exception to handle any errors, and if necessary, appended a generic error message to the errors list. Finally, we rendered the template, including the errors list and results dictionary. If GET, we simply rendered the template. So I'm hoping that I can make changes on the fly and they'll register, but if it doesn't work, I'm going to Control C this command in my second terminal and run it again, and then hopefully it works. So you should be able to type in a valid web page in the terminal. You'll see, and in the terminal, you'll see the text of that page returned. So make sure that your URL includes the full URL. Otherwise, your application won't detect that it's a valid URL. Okay, so we see nothing happened, probably because we've got a, oh, oh, I see. Okay, yeah. So it worked. It just didn't display it on the page, but you can see, sure enough, all the text is actually returned in the CLI, but it wasn't displayed on the page anywhere, which I thought was going to be a part of it. Let's try stopping and restarting it anyway, just because. But we can see it did work. Okay, so still nothing there. But if we actually look at the terminal, um, we did get a response back there. So I'm not sure if that's how they intended it to work. Um, oh, yes, it is. In the terminal, you'll see the text of the page return. Yep, so that everything is working exactly as they intended. Text processing with the HTML in hand, let's now count the frequency of the words that are on the page and display them to the end user. Update your code in app.py to the following, and we'll walk through what's happening. So you're giving the whole file here. So yeah, we'll just take the whole file, paste it in. I kind of don't like doing that. I like to type it out, get it under my fingers, and I think that kind of gives me a clearer sense of like what's going on if I actually like type it out and go through the motions and stuff. But um, I had such a hard time in part two. I want to I don't want to do that. Like maybe if like this becomes really relevant and I need to go back and go through it again, I would do that. But my first time here, I just want to get it to work. Okay, create a new file called stopwords and add the following list. Perfect. What's happening? Text processing. In our index route, we used Beautiful Soup to clean the text by removing the HTML tags that we got back from the URL, as well as Nltk to tokenize the raw text, break up the text into individual words, and turn the tokens into an Nltk text object. In order for Nltk to work properly, you need to download the correct tokenizers. First, create a new dictionary, a new directory, mkdir nltk underscore data, then run python-m downloader. Okay, so I think this is what's happening. So I'm not sure if they want me to do that or if it's included in the code. I think it might be included in the code. There are with the OS module, you can create a directory using the code. So I'm kind of confused by this direction here. Okay, I think they want me to do this. I'm a bit confused that it's not given in like a text box, the way commands are usually given, but that's okay. So the first thing we're going to do is make a new folder. We're going to change directory into the folder. And that I assume it actually didn't give directions to do that, but I will do that. Okay, so now, download directory. Okay, so let's get the present working directory now that we're in there. So pwd, and then do this next command. Okay, so now we've got to set it to this. Download directory. So we've got to set the download directory. So let's do a C for config. Okay, and then let's set the, let's go to the main menu. Let's type D. And then I'm not sure which package they want. Let's do a X for cancel. What about you? Nothing to update. Okay. Let's just do a C. Okay, so we've got a data directory. Let's set the data directory again. Okay, so we reset the data directory so that it's within our Git repo. And then we'll go back to the main menu. And then we'll do download. And then we need to know which package. Okay, so I think it's the punkt module that we need to download. So let's see if we can just... Perfect, okay, so that seemed to work. So let's do quit. There we go. So remove punctuation, count raw words. Since we don't want punctuation counted in the final results, we created a regular expression and matched anything not in the standard alphabet. Then using a list comprehension, we created a list of words without punctuation or numbers. Finally, we tallied the number of times each word appeared in the list using counter. So those are definitely things found in the code. I wonder if the punkt module shows up in the code. Because again, I'm not sure if they want me to enter those commands or if the code takes care of it. All right, anyway, we entered them. So if the code takes care of it, that's great. It'll work fine. But if the code doesn't take care of it, I already entered it in manually. Stop words. And I could do another 10 minutes. I got like a late start on lunch today. Our current output contains a lot of words that we likely don't want to count. For example, I, me, the, and so forth. These are called stop words. With the stops list, we again used a list comprehension to create a final list of words that do not include those stop words. Next, we created a dictionary with the words as keys and their associated counts as values. This is a list comprehension? Oh, okay. All right. This counts as values. And finally, we used the sorted method to get a sorted representation of our dictionary. Now we can use the sorted data to display the words with the highest count at the top of the list, which means that we won't have to do that sorting in our Jinja template. For more robust stop word list, use Nltk stop words corpus. We're just going to use what was given in the tutorial. Save the results. Finally, we used a try except to save the results of our search and the subsequent counts to the database. Display results. Let's update index.html in order to display the results. So this is index.html. It's the whole file. I know that because of the HTML tag there. So we'll just blow out the original. It's going to be under templates. There we go. Here we added an if statement to see if our results dictionary has anything in it, and then added a for loop to iterate over the results and display them in a table. Run your app and you should be able to enter a URL and get back the count of the words on the page. Oh, okay, I stopped the server. Let's start it again. Okay. All right, and there we go. So we see the words that most commonly show up at the top and that least commonly show up at the bottom. So at the bottom we've got hashes, really specific things. At the top we've got Python is the most commonly used word in this tutorial. It's just kind of interesting. Let's look at a Wikipedia article. I don't know, what do we want to? Well, let's look at this simplify your thing that we looked at earlier. So we got auto env is the most common there. That makes sense about there. Let's look up if there's a Wikipedia article on the current coronavirus pandemic. And let's see what the most common word is in this. I'm just curious. Probably should have included a trigger warning or something. Apologize for that. Or just use the less a Wikipedia article that wasn't uh, something like that. Oh, that's retrieved is the most common um, word. That's interesting. All right, so moving on. What if we only wanted to display the first 10 words? Um, then we would add this. So, um, and then test that out. So, and we would add that to the app file, I believe. Yeah, so we would add that here. Result equals result. And then I think it's just a simple change at the end. If I could find it. Yeah, so it's the same thing, sorted, no stop words, everything's the same, but we just add uh, this here so that we get to index 0 through 9, and then we don't include index 10. There we go. Okay, so now if I do my search again, I'm not going to search for coronavirus again. But let's find another. Let's do. How about Wikipedia on dogs? Everyone likes dogs, I think, or I don't know. Maybe cats would be better, but I'm more of a dog person, so we're going with dogs. We're doing see what the top 10. Oh, so that's interesting. It looks like it didn't. So dogs is the #1 word. um, that's interesting. I don't know why this part didn't work. Maybe it's because, yeah, let me restart my server. Yeah, that's very strange. I thought there would only be 10 words showing up here, but clearly that not only did that not work, there actually wasn't an error. So I'm actually even wondering if I saved that. Maybe I accidentally. Nope. So yeah, okay. Well, that's interesting. That did absolutely nothing. So key equals operator dot item getter. Oh, okay. So I think I was perhaps at the wrong. Yeah, I was at the wrong. I added this to the wrong part of the code. It's just going to be up here. So let's try that again. And this is why it's good to type out the code too, because if you just get used to just ignoring the code, it's like, well, the code is the most important part. You know, what did you even do if you didn't type out all the code? Just kind of glossed over everything and ignored it and have no idea what's actually there. Okay, so this will work. This is the correct place to put it. So let's go back and search for dogs again. I'll search for a cat this time. All right, now we've only got 10. And the most used word is cat, and it's at a tie with cats. Okay. Oh, and it is 110, but I can do another. Um, well, you know what? I think, yeah. Oh, no, I'm gonna, because they want me to push it to my staging environment and stuff. So I'm gonna save this summary section for another video. Okay, so that's it for this video. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.